Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Wish you Happy New Year. This is the probably first program in Brisbane. We are very
Hari New Year.
Hari New Year. Wish you Hari New Year. Okay. Today we have very special guest amongst us. We are very fortunate to have His Holiness Prahladananda Swami Maharaj. His Holiness Prahladananda Swami Maharaj ki jai. So before Maharaj speaks, I give a little introduction about Maharaj. Maharaj is a direct disciple of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj has been, while he was studying in University of New York in Buffalo, he met with devotees and he came to Krishna consciousness in 1968. And in 1969, Maharaj has been initiated by Srila Prabhupada. He received both initiation first and second from Prabhupada in 1969. And Maharaj is initiating spiritual master. He is a GBC. He has served as a temple president. He is a traveling preacher, and he also conducts Bhakti Shastri courses in VHI. Maharaj served in many responsibilities as a as I mentioned, temple president. He was a treasurer, head pujari, and inspired by Prabhupada's teachings and instructions, Maharaj started book distribution, Harinam Sankirtan, to support the temple in 1969 in Buffalo. And Maharaj has organized many Harinams, and he was part of Radha Damodar Sankirtan party. Those who don't know, those who are new to Krishna consciousness, Radha Damodar is a traveling Sankirtan. They go around and distribute books, does Harinam all day long. So Maharaj was the leader of that. And it says in Buffalo it was sometimes the temperature goes down to minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, which is minus 7 degrees. In that situation also Maharaj to lead Harinams there and distribute books. Maharaj also opened many temples in, one was in Coconut Grove, Florida, Austin, and served as temple president in Houston and Dallas, Austin and Dallas. And Maharaj, for many years, as I mentioned, he was distributing books every day without fail. He used to go out and distribute books of Srila Prabhupada. And Maharaj taught Bhakti Shastri program, Bhakti courses for 10 years under VIH in Vrindavan. And then Maharaj has been given another responsibility as a GBC minister of Sannyasa in 1992. And he was awarded another responsibility of health and welfare in 1994. And Maharaj served as not only GBC but as the chairman of GBC also. And currently Maharaj travels all over the world. He comes to Australia, New Zealand, he goes to Peru, USA, Hong Kong, Russia, Ukraine, Europe, Eastern Europe. So the list is very long. So with this small introduction, we'll welcome His Holiness Prahladananda Maharaj to our program by loudly chanting Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Ganadvarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksuramalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Jati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shigaro Shiyuta Parakamalam Shigaram Vaishnavam Scha Shirupam Sagrajatam Ragana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vrijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Visakam Vitam Scha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinavando Dugatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurandi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishna Sri Devi Namami Hri Priye Vanchakapa Drivyastra Rupa Sindhu Vyavacha Aditanam Bhavadevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranitananda Yasvadita Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So, we're going to read from the Bhagavad-gita as it is, chapter 4, Karma, Transcendental Knowledge, text number 34. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadeshanti te jnanam jnana sattvadarshanaha. Let's try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you, because they have seen the truth. The Prabhupada's purport. The path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. Therefore, the Lord advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord Himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process as the fashion of foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam 6:3-19 says, Dharma tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot lead one to the right path. Nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a spiritual master. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive this knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper accommodation for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master. When he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses him with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, called blind following and absurd inquiries to condemn, one should not only hear submissively, but one should get a clear understanding through submission, service, and inquiry. The bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind to his disciple. When the disciple is always submissive, is ready to render service, then the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. So the verse again, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya Upadeshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshanaha. To strive to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Namo Vishnu Guraya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vacharane Nirvishesha Shnivadi Paskadyade Siddhartha. In the Bhagavad-gita, Prabhupada mentions that in the introduction, that one American lady had requested Srila Prabhupada to recommend an edition of the Bhagavad-gita in English. Prabhupada had said at the very beginning of the introduction that the Bhagavad-gita, known as the Gita Upanishad, is the essence of all the Vedic literature. And Prabhupada said that actually he couldn't recommend any particular edition of the Bhagavad-gita in English, either from India or from America, because none of the translations had touched on the spirit of the Bhagavad-gita. That the spirit of the Bhagavad-gita is that, more or less, if we want to take a medicine, we have to take it according to the direction on the label on the bottle, or according to the expert physician. So the expert physicians are personalities such as Sankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, later on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. And they all proclaim, as Krishna proclaims in the Bhagavad Gita, that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And also in the Brahma Samhita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, all the Vedic literatures, such as these Vedic literatures, proclaim that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, there are certain qualities, there are certain attributes of God. No one can just claim to be God. One has to have certain qualifications. And God is defined according to Parasara Muni, the father of Vyasadeva, Aishvaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yashashaskriyaha Jnana Vairagyaschayana Vashana Bhagahi Tinganaha. To be God, you have to have unlimited beauty, unlimited strength, unlimited wealth, unlimited fame, unlimited knowledge, and unlimited renunciation. Now, in our present conditioned life, that we're not going to be able to perceive God's unlimited beauty, His unlimited wealth, His unlimited strength. Our only access to understand Krishna at this particular time is His unlimited knowledge. After all, if He's God, everything He says in the Bhagavad Gita must be absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect means that it's equally true billions of years ago as it's true at the present time, and will be absolutely true in millions and billions of years from now. That's called absolute knowledge. And therefore in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Imam vishate yogam praptavanaham aviyam vivashan manave praha mano ishvakave pravi. That he instructed millions of years ago, hundreds of millions of years ago, approximately 120 millions of years ago, this knowledge to the sun god Vivashvan. And then Vivashvan instructed the same knowledge to his son, Ikshvaku. And then Ikshvaku instructed the same knowledge to Manu. And we're receiving in disciple succession the same knowledge now. Now, if the knowledge is perfect, any change, either adding something or taking something away, would make it less than perfect. Therefore, we have to have at least acceptance. Two things. One is that we have a relation with Krishna eternally. And that relationship is according to Krishna. If we want to understand Bhagavad-gita, he tells Arjuna, Saevayam mayatedya yogo prokta paratana bhakto sumedi sakha cheti rahasyam hiyadat uttama. Krishna is speaking this knowledge of Bhagavad-gita to Arjuna because he wants Arjuna's two things. One, he's a devotee, and the other, he's a friend of Krishna. So this is the attitude that we have to have. We have to have a friendly attitude towards Krishna. We can't be envious that he's God, and therefore reject blindly that he's God. Nor should we blindly accept that he's God. But we have to have an attitude that, let me find out if Krishna is God. If that's what we're interested in. Of course, many people, as we know, are not interested whether Krishna is God or not. They're not interested in God at all. But if one has some interest to find out the absolute truth, then the only means of doing it is to become a friend and a devotee of Krishna. Well, Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad-gita that one who claims to be my devotee is actually not my devotee. But one who claims to be my devotee, he's actually my devotee. So therefore, as in this verse in the Bhagavad-gita, in the purport, Prabhupada said that the secret satisfaction of the self-realized person, or the self-realized bona fide spiritual master, was a few words that use Prabhupada. The self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. So who is that self-realized person? What does it mean to be self-realized? Prabhupada defines self-realization in the Nectar of Instruction. It is not so easy to be self-realized, especially in this age, that one should have assimilated all the knowledge of the Vedic literature and come perfectly to the conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And one comes to that conclusion, well, one actually realizes that there's no difference between Krishna and his name. In other words, we can chant Hare Krishna, but if we don't realize that Krishna and his name are not different, then we have not reached the perfection of self-realization yet. And one should have realized his own spiritual identity. There are 5 rasas: Shanta, Dasya, Vatsalya, Sakya, and Madhurya. And one should have realized one's particular relation with Krishna. And one should have no interest, one's every breath, every word, every thought should simply be to spread Krishna consciousness. Now there are many advanced devotees in our society, certainly relatively advanced to others. But that doesn't mean that if one is advanced compared to ourselves, that they're necessarily completely self-realized. That we may not be able to perceive. If one is 5 years old, one will not understand exactly what the activities of their father and mother are. One has to grow up to understand what these. So, when we're children in spiritual life, it's not so easy to perceive who's on what level of spiritual advancement, although we should be trained to perceive that. In any case, as we accept theoretically that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so we have to accept theoretically also that the founder Acharya of our society, Srila Prabhupada, is also a pure absolute devotee who is actually a direct representative of our disciple succession. So as Prabhupada explains here in the verse, satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is a secret of advancement in spiritual life. So whether we're initiated or not initiated by one of our Prabhupada's disciples or a disciple of Prabhupada's disciple, The important thing is that they connect us to disciple succession, which is what Prabhupada did when he was here. He connected us with disciple succession. So it is important for all of us, whatever our position, whether we're taking a position of Diksha Guru or Shiksha Guru, or we're not even a Guru, our main business is to connect with Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya. Without connecting with Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya, what are we being connected with? As Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita, Ita Turamula, not Bhagavad-gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ita Turamula Nishechinena Chityanti Tatskanda Pujopashaka Pranahara Charitendriyanam Taiva Sarvahanam Atiteja. If we water the root of the tree, then the water will go to all the leaves and branches. We supply food to the stomach, then naturally all the different parts of the body will be served. Or if we worship Krishna, then naturally all the demigods and everyone else will be satisfied. But we can only really worship Krishna if we come in contact with a personality who can bring us into contact with Srila Prabhupada. In other words, Prabhupada used to compare the spiritual master to a post peon who's simply delivering a letter. But our letter is not only that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but if we want to experience Krishna as he actually is, we have to at least have some faith that if we're connected to Srila Prabhupada somehow or another, either through our Diksha Guru or through our Shiksha Guru, somehow or another, we make that connection with Srila Prabhupada, then we'll actually be connected with Krishna through the super succession. In other words, our acharyas in the super succession, they're connecting us with the teachings of Rupa Goswami. And the teachings of Rupa Goswami are, as Prabhupada mentions here, are to connect us to a self-realized person such as Srila Prabhupada, who can connect us with the acharyas in the simple succession, connect us with the six Goswamis, and if we serve the instructions of the self-realized person, then they'll teach us how to serve the instructions of the Goswamis. Prabhupada in one Nectar devotional lecture in Vrindavan, he said that in the Nectar devotion known as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, actually it's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, given to us by Srila Prabhupada as the Nectar devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami says if we wake up early in the morning and go to Mangal Arati, then that's his instruction. We should get up more in the morning and have an arti to Krishna. And if we're doing that, then we're serving the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami. In other words, Srila Prabhupada never has said in his books that we should serve his lotus feet. He gives us instructions how to serve the lotus feet of the previous acharyas. How to serve the previous acharyas, how to connect with the six Goswamis, and through them to Lord Chaitanya and the Panchatattva. And by connecting with them, then we're automatically, when we experience their mood and follow their teachings, then we're automatically connected to Krishna, Lord Krishna's associates in Vrindavan, through feelings of separation, which is the most intimate way of connecting with Krishna in this age that's available to us. Or as Prabhupada writes in the Krishna book, the gopis of Vrindavan were so attached to Krishna that they were not satisfied simply with the rasa dance at night. They wanted to associate with him and enjoy his company during the daytime also. When Krishna went to the forest with his cowherd boys and the calves, the gopis could not physically take part, but their hearts went with him. And because their hearts went with him, they were able to enjoy his company through strong feelings of separation. To acquire this strong feeling of separation is the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and his direct disciple succession of Goswamis. When we're not in physical contact with Krishna, we can also associate with him through strong feelings of separation. Krishna's name, form, quality, and pastimes are not different from him. And are not different from it. As stated in the teachings of Srinivasacharya, in his prayers to the six Goswamis, they gave up their opulent, their material, their opulent government positions and opulent life, and went to Vrindavan, where they lived like ordinary mendicants, begging from door to door. But they were so much enriched with the gopis' feelings of separation that they enjoyed transcendental pleasure at every moment. Similarly, when Lord Chaitanya was in Jagannath Puri, he was in the mood of Srimati Radharani, feeling separation from Krishna. Those in the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya should also always feel this separation from Krishna. Worship his transcendental form, discuss his transcendental teachings, his associates, his qualities. Spiritual masters to enrich their devotees to the highest devotional perfection. Feeling constant separation from Krishna while engaged in devotional service is the perfection of Krishna consciousness. So, in other words, Srila Prabhupada was in that mood. He was completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness and service. He was not only absorbed in Krishna consciousness, but he knew his service was to give Krishna consciousness to others in the mood of our disciple succession coming from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, the conclusion is we should study Prabhupada's books. Bhagavad-gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and try to put Prabhupada through his teachings within our life. Now, Srila Prabhupada is actually present through his teachings, but he's present through his teachings also in the hearts of his followers. In other words, no one, as Prabhupada said, no one can become self-realized by manufacturing his own process as the fashion of foolish pretenders. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master, the line of disciple succession from the Lord himself. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. One has to accept the spiritual master in full surrender and serve him like a menial servant without false prestige. In other words, Prabhupada is also represented by all his followers. It is not that when we're worshiping his followers, we should be worshiping them separately from their connection to Prabhupada. It's like we cannot connect with a tree without connecting with the root. And as Krishna is the root of the entire Krishna consciousness, so Srila Prabhupada is the root of our ISKCON Krishna consciousness to this age. So, as Prabhupada was had when 1977, November 2nd, 1977, just before Prabhupada's disappearance from in his manifest form, then at that time, two prominent politicians from India came to approach Srila Prabhupada and ask him a question. So they wanted to speak privately with Srila Prabhupada, which Prabhupada was not very, well, Prabhupada agreed to it. His servants were not so much inclined to it. But anyhow, Prabhupada agreed to it. So the two politicians, they asked Srila Prabhupada a question. And as Prabhupada later on revealed, and which was actually recorded also, they asked him, who will be next leader? Everyone was interested in that time. Who's going to take over from Srila Prabhupada? Just like we're wondering, who's going to take over? Because most of our initiating gurus, they're not going to be on this, in their manifest presence so much longer. So who's going to take over ISKCON? So they asked, after the politicians left, when his caretakers came and asked Srila Prabhupada, who's going to take over? What did they ask? And Prabhupada said, who's going to take over ISKCON? So they said, Prabhupada, what did you say? So he said, actually, I told the politicians, these two gentlemen in India, he said that actually I'm not appointing anyone as the next leader. That all my disciples, as much as they follow, they become the next leader. He told them, you can also become the next leader if you follow. You understand what this philosophy is and follow it. So it is not that anyone in our society, especially those who are initiated, they're somehow or another, they're less important than anyone else in the society. Their importance is as much as they've understood and followed Prabhupada's teachings, then they become the next leader. It's not revert. There may be some services such as GBC, temple president, initiating guru, etc. But these are services. They're not eternal positions. I'm a GBC member. I can guarantee you that I wouldn't want my constitutional position to be as a GBC member. I've had every single position in our society, and none of them are my constitutional position. If I come back in my next lifetime and I'm Guru Kul, and my teacher tells me to do something, I'll say, do you know who I am? I was a GBC in my last lifetime. Just like we were reading on the way over here, the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, with a list of names, which have probably for most of us, probably all of us who read them, have absolutely no meaning to us. But at the time, they were all great personalities. Some of them were ruling this Earth planet, and we're not talking about a little place called Earth that we know of, like, in which Australia is a little part of it. We're talking about Umandala, a much more extensive region than this little tiny place we call 1/3 of Bharatvarsha in Jambudvi. And yet, who cares for them now? Who cares what it? It's just another title that someone had. Similarly, none of these titles that we have any importance without the addition of service, and particularly service to Srila Prabhupada and the mission of Chaitanya, and through him, the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now that doesn't mean that we don't include Prabhupada's followers in that service, because they're also representatives of Prabhupada. To serve Prabhupada's followers who have, and to serve their instructions, which are bona fide, which are actually coming from Srila Prabhupada, is actually pleasing Prabhupada more than if we serve him directly. Because that's his teachings. He didn't establish ISKCON simply so that we'd only serve him. No, he established ISKCON to create representatives. And they don't have to be all Uttamadhikaris. Matter of fact, the Uttamadhikaris, such as Srila Prabhupada, he teaches us appropriately how to serve all the other devotees in proper loving exchanges. And we want to serve Prabhupada, we have to engage in loving exchanges with his representatives, those who are following him. Or else our relation with Prabhupada will remain very incomplete. But if we sincerely serve his other representatives, we shouldn't forget that we're serving them as a service to Srila Prabhupada also, under his instructions. And it's not just a sentimental, I'm serving Srila Prabhupada. No, we should know what Prabhupada wants. And we should know that he wants us to engage in loving relationships with the other devotees and to help the innocent. He wants us to act in a way that we serve Krishna and love him. That's what he's teaching us to do. And by doing that, cooperate with his representatives, Prabhupada's representatives that he's trained, that he's following his instructions, which are coming from all our acharyas and ultimately from Krishna. There's no difference. That Prabhupada created representatives of Lord Krishna who are his representatives because he's a representative of Lord Krishna. So we serve them and we remember Prabhupada, then we remember our connection to our acharyas and disciple succession, and ultimately with Krishna. But Krishna is pleased if we please Prabhupada. Now we can please his representatives, but that will also be incomplete. Because the connection with our representatives are connecting us with Prabhupada. And in our service, we remember our connection with his representatives and with Prabhupada, at least, if not with all our acharyas and with the 6 Goswamis, with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and with Krishna and his pastimes. Then most likely, if we connect with his Prabhupada's representatives and with Srila Prabhupada, then all these other things will also gradually be spontaneously remembered. The 6 Goswamis, the Panchatattva, and through them Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. But if we forget our connection with Prabhupada, then we haven't really understood his books very well. We haven't really understood his instruction. We don't understand how Prabhupada became so transcendently powerful. Krishna Shakti Vinanahi Tar Pravartana. He wasn't powerful simply because he came from India, or he came from Bengal, or whatever else, or he got initiated by Bhaktisiddhanta. That's not what made him powerful. What made him powerful was that he was connected with his Guru Maharaj, who connected him with the rest of the succession. So our business is connect ourselves with our present representatives of Prabhupada, and through him, through Prabhupada, through the entire succession, and ultimately with the entirety of our philosophy, as revealed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feelings of separation from Krishna and Vrindavan, with the unlimited pastimes of Krishna, as revealed in Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literature. So, if we add Srila Prabhupada to our everyday activities, along with his representatives, because it's not that the temple president or our initiating or instructing gurus tell us to do something, and then we don't do that because they're not Prabhupada. For any devotee asks us to do something, if we serve them as representatives of Srila Prabhupada, if they're actually bona fide representatives of Srila Prabhupada, not that one of our friends, one of our devotee friends, they tell us, let's go and see the movie Avatar. And we say, well, as service to my friend, I'll go and see the movie Avatar. That's not a bona fide service. Even though we're serving a devotee by doing it, but they're not connected with Prabhupada's instructions. But if they say, let's go and see Sita's wedding, it's a little more devotional. Or let's go on Sankirtan and distribute some books. And we do that to please Prabhupada, to please them, because they're trying to please Prabhupada. Then we'll be connected with the simple succession, and everything we're doing on that particular service will be arranged by Krishna, so that we can remember him as easily, and remember our acharyas in the simple succession, and remember him ultimately in the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu while we're doing that service, and that service will be perfect. Because he'll be in proper knowledge, he'll be under the proper authority, with the proper mood, and therefore we'll naturally remember Krishna. And if we remember Krishna in that way, that's called Krishna consciousness. In our life, that's a perfect service, a perfect activity. So let us try to understand what Prabhupada is giving, the value of Srila Prabhupada in his books, especially householders, as they minister for sannyas. One of the things we're training the sannyas candidates to do, we have what's called small groups. We're training them. We have around 30, every year we have around 30 sannyas candidates that we train, and we train them in small groups. The small groups means that they set up small groups in whatever area, because we have candidates from all over the world, and they set up small groups, and they train in the small groups. There's a process of training them, like something like Bhakti Vriksha or Nabhata, that in the small groups, then I just forgot what I was saying. Anyhow, so this training should go on so that we understand that we have to somehow or another be connected with our disciple succession, and through that disciple succession be connected with Krishna consciousness. So connection with Krishna consciousness means that we have to first of all understand that the whole universe belongs to Krishna. That's our sambandha. And we do that satatam kirtayantamam, by chanting Krishna's glories. Krishna's glories does not mean for ourselves Krishna's dealings with the gopis in the bushes of Vrindavan right now. Krishna's glories means that we're not this body, that Krishna is the super soul in our heart, and that ultimately he's Bhagavan. That's Krishna's glories. And in this world, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come here to engage us in Krishna's pastime of distributing Krishna consciousness to others. Because everything here belongs to Krishna, and everything through the living entities in this world, we have to re-engage everything as much as possible in Krishna's service. That's why we're preaching, is to engage the souls and their energies in Krishna's service. That's called Sambandha. And we can only do that through the bona fide directions coming to succession. And since our memories are very short in this age, Prabhupada has given us these books. So these books of knowledge teach us that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and how to realize not only Krishna, but all his different energies, how they're working, and how we should properly serve them. So, as a science minister, what we're teaching the devotees is how to properly, everyone should engage in their proper duty. Everyone has a duty. And that duty is to distribute transcendental knowledge. And for the sannyasis, everyone is supposed to be a sannyasi in this movement, at least in the mood. There are three things: abhayam, sattva, samsudhira, jnana, yoga, vivyastiti. So abhayam means fearlessness. When we realize we're eternal, we'll become fearless. Otherwise, we'll always be in anxiety. Sattva, samsudhira. Purity will be experienced when we actually love Krishna and love everyone and everything in relation with Krishna. And all this resentment and anger and frustration and envy, they'll go away when we love Krishna. We love everyone in relation to Krishna. And Jnana Yoga Vivyastiti. The real knowledge, which is the key to understanding our eternality and develop our loving relation with Krishna, all his parts and parcels, is to understand what knowledge is and the process of obtaining it. So in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says, Asatyam Amadi Vamadami Vamahinsa Shanti Arjavam Acharya Pasanam Socham Sthiram Atma Vinigraham Indriyarte Vairagyam Anahankar Evacha Shanmamriti Jaravyati Dukha Dosha Nidarshanam. So, and sometimes I have to go through the verse to remember what part I'm trying to remember. Asaktani Vishvanga Putra Dari Grihadishu. So asakta means non-attachment to wife, home, children, and the rest. So Prabhupada writes in his purport, so does that mean we should abandon my wife, just like when I was a brahmachari? The brahmacharis, when they're pretty fanatical back then. So I know one brahmachari went home to see his mother, his parents, and his mother came to embrace him, and he said, "Stop!" He said, "I'm a brahmachari. You're a woman. Don't touch me." Oh my God! What did they do to you? I mean, I was like that too when I came home the first time to see my parents. I was a student, but I was in Buffalo. My parents lived in Brooklyn. And I joined the movement. They had no idea. Krishna consciousness, no one had any idea what Krishna consciousness was back then, at least not in Brooklyn, New York. So I was going to see Prabhupada with all the devotees in Buffalo. We went to New York to do Harinam. And my parents lived there, so I was going to stay with my parents. And it was my sister's wedding. So I came to the building, and I had shaven head and dhoti on and tilak, and my parents had no idea I was a devotee. And I walked in, and my mother just like, wow, she just became very disturbed and said, "You can't be in here like that." So I said, "No problem." So I just left. But my parents, they were living on some building in New York, an apartment building. So they came, I went down one elevator, they came down the other elevator, and they said, at least your sister's wedding, you can come in like that. So I attended my sister's wedding, preached to my relatives there, and I didn't see my parents for 7 years after that. And one day that my mother called me up and asked for forgiveness. And then I saw them once or twice a year, every year. So asakta anabhishvanga doesn't mean we just give up our family life. You know, we don't talk to our wife anymore. Children, we just don't get near them. No, the Prabhupada said affection for the family is natural. It's not what we're going to give up. We're not, you know, trees, or, I mean, I'm sure the trees have some affection for each other too. That the living entity by nature has affection and love for other living beings. So we're not supposed to give it up. But we should be in Krishna consciousness. It should be. So Prabhupada said the family should sit down morning, evening, and chant Hare Krishna together. Hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-gita, worship the deities. And if they do that, then their family life will become perfect. He said there's no such thing as complete happiness or complete distress in this material world. But as long as family life is conducive to spiritual advancement, is not an impediment, then one should accept it and engage in Krishna consciousness. So when I first came to the movement, we had no idea what sadhana was. I mean, I had really little idea. I mean, we used to have a Bhagavatam class in the morning, but we had no, the deities, I didn't even know who they were. But the speaker, I was a head pujari, but I wasn't quite sure who they were. I mean, we had Jagannath, Lord Jagannath and Lord Baladev and Subhadra Devi there on this altar that Birjan Prabhu had made before he left. And they made me the head pujari, so I wasn't quite sure, but I knew there was some relationship with Krishna. So, but we didn't know how to worship them. The only way we worshiped them is when we offered prasadam. We used to wave the incense and chant the prasadam prayers. So Prabhupada came to Buffalo and I asked him, who they were, and he said, "That's Krishna." He said, "Oh, good." I was quite happy to find out he was worshiping Krishna for a few months there. And then later on, we found out how to worship Krishna. So I wasn't quite sure how to worship Krishna. As I said last time, I was the pujari, but we learned there's such a thing as arti. So my temple president found out that there was an arti in some of the paraphernalia with incense, and we would be doing that anyhow. And then we were supposed to offer some ghee lamp, and then some water, and a handkerchief, and some flowers, and a fan. So I did that in the first, but they didn't tell us how long we were supposed to do the arti for. So the first arti, I think, was between 2 and 3 hours. Because we didn't know how long it was supposed to be, so each article took around maybe 20 minutes to half an hour to mark. But it was very difficult. The next arti was only like an hour or two, because it was really difficult to offer arti for 3 hours. Later on, when we got more information, it was supposed to be, the arti was supposed to be 20 minutes to half an hour, and that was quite a relief. Anyhow, we didn't know what we were doing. We did something, and then gradually, we were always hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, gradually we introduced arti, we chanted japa together, etc., etc. And then later on, a little bit later than that, we had Gaur arti in the evening, and we had Guru Puja. Prabhupada introduced Guru Puja, Guru Vasta, the prayers, and the Guru Vandana prayers. So everyone participated in those programs in the morning. And if you didn't participate, because all the householders lived around the temple, and everyone lived in the temple. So every morning we had Mangal Arti, we had Bhagavatam class, and if you didn't come to Mangal Arti, you'd have to stand up before the prasadam and ask forgiveness from all the devotees because you didn't come to Mangal Arti. And Prabhupada, when he was asked, what should we do if someone doesn't come to Mangal Arti? And he gave the example that in India, there's one very wealthy family, and when the mother of the family makes it a business that all the family members have to come to Mangalarti. If they don't come to Mangalarti, they have to pay a penalty. And the priest goes around and collects the money for the penalty, all the Lakshmi from all the children, if they didn't go to Mangalarti that day. So Prabhupada said we should also impose that penalty if someone doesn't go. So they asked Prabhupada, what should that penalty be? So he said they should go out and distribute one Krishna book. That's the penalty. So we should understand that that is our process. It is not that once a week we're going to eat prasadam. No one's going to do that. First of all, we won't be very healthy. We only eat once a week, or once every Janmashtami. That we eat every day. Most of us probably eat at least 2 times, or maybe more a day. So similarly, for the soul needs food. It needs spiritual food. So we think once a week we're going to give the soul some spiritual food, come and chant and take prasadam. The soul will not be very healthy. Every day, Srinvatam, Swakatat, Krishna, Punya Shravanam, Kirtana. So that's Prabhupada's instruction. Not very, he's not asking us to do hatha yoga for 2 hours a day and put our, learn how to put our ankle and back of our neck to get enlightenment. He's asking us every day, have a program when we sit down with our family if possible, or tie the kids down if they're too restless. So every day we're chanting Hare Krishna together, worshiping the deities, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the formula. And then study Prabhupada's books, of course, so that we can understand how to do this in the most devotional way, out of friendship, and out of devotion for Krishna and for his devotees. That way our life will become perfect. Otherwise we may go hungry spiritually, although the prasadam would be good. But prasadam should be good, and our devotional life should be equally as good. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much. Any questions? It's amazing to me that something that we were doing, we didn't even think about it. You couldn't be a member of the Hare Krishna movement without following the sun every day. And in the evening also. That was our life. And wherever we went, in every temple, every home you went to, because the devotees only lived next door. But anyhow, everyone was doing the same thing. And after Prabhupada left, we actually think Prabhupada left. And if the Prabhupada has his representatives, he's still here through his morti, through his instructions, through his representatives. We should all be still be doing the same thing. Doesn't matter how far we live from the temple. Doesn't matter who we're initiated by. These things don't matter. That is our process. That's what our hear and chant in association with devotees, about how to become Krishna conscious, this philosophy. And if we're initiated, then we should do it. Definitely we're making a vow to do it every day. And that will bring us to the perfection of life, where we actually develop consciousness of Krishna and feelings, love for Krishna, feelings for him, and feeling for everyone and everything in relation to Krishna. That's what we're trying to develop, and that will actually make our family life successful. We love our husband, we love our wife, we love our children, and we love everyone else too, in relation to Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for a wonderful class. I had one question regarding, you said Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to basically propagate the spreading of Krishna consciousness. During the December book marathon, I had a number of interactions with people while I was out on the street doing books. Some of them were chastising me, saying that we shouldn't, this is very dear, the Krishna consciousness they were saying is something they hold very personal, and they're like, you shouldn't be out trying to tell people about it. And my question is, do we keep trying with those people, or is that preaching to the not I know they're not faithless, but it's like, is it what's an adequate or a proper response to someone who tries to tell us that
Not to tell people about Krishna. Well, who told them about Krishna?
their parents they
Well, who's their parent? It's their parents. Someone told them about Krishna.
yeah.
Why did the parents shouldn't say, well, this is too valuable to tell my children? No, everyone's Krishna's child. Aham pita prajapita. Aham pita prajapita. Krishna's the father of everyone. So Krishna, he comes to speak Bhagavad-gita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to speak Bhagavad-gita. What did he do? He didn't say, well, I'm not going to tell everyone about this philosophy of Krishna consciousness because, let their parents tell them.
Yeah.
Okay, Nityananda, Haridas Thakur, they went door to door, knocked on the door. Some of the people said, these people are thieves, they're checking out our house, that's why they're knocking on the door. Go away. But some of them they accepted, and Lord Nityananda, but what was his preaching? Bolo Krishna, Koro Krishna. No, Bolo Krishna, Koro Krishna. Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Koro Krishna, Shika. Chant Hare Krishna, worship Krishna, and Koro and serve Krishna. Some of Lord Nityananda did it. Haridas Thakur did it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went all over South India spreading Krishna consciousness. So those are our authorities, not someone on the street. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Grantarashma Bhagavad-gita Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaura Premanande.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Because as many of you have felt, that is very, very enlightening class. And one thing I probably forgot to mention, Maharaja has read Bhagavad-gita left cover to cover many times with many times. That's why if you have noticed that when you are reading purport, he was not looking at the purport. He was telling it from his memory. And one time I was driving Maharaj to Sunshine Coast, and very few things, but Maharaj shared with me that he reads whole Bhagavatam in a year. So he makes one canto 1 month, so like 12 cantos, 12 months.
No, I read, my reading program when is ideal. I read 10 verses from Bhagavad-gita, the whole purport and everything. I recite one chapter by memory with the English and the Sanskrit, and I read one chapter of Nectar Devotion. And I read 10 verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, 25 verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and one chapter from the Krishna book. But it takes some time to read Srimad Bhagavatam. There's 18,000 verses, and so it may take. I can't read it in 1 year. But I think, every different book that Prabhupada wrote had a purpose. And it's good to read a little bit every day of each one of them.
Thank you Maharaj for that inspiring words. And definitely it has many times when I heard Maharaj in last few years of my Krishna consciousness, one thing I always get inspired is Maharaj because he himself spends so much time on reading, it gives me inspiration to study Prabhupada books more sincerely, more what is the right word is sincerely. So thank you Maharaj for such a nice enlightening class. And
I have to give class regularly, but I have to have something to say.
Yeah.
I might as well say something that Prabhupada said.
Thank you. So His Holiness Prahladananda Swami Maharaj ki
Jai.
So,
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
so now the prashadam will be served, but as you see it was raining outside. So if you can make one line, so then devotees can take prashadam and then come out and sit in one line, so that there will be enough space for everyone to sit down and honor prashadam.